Okay, welcome to the Big Bite here with Sunny and Shay. We are going to have some more food with Rick Matharu, and we are going to have some film news because I love film, and also famous people talking to us.
All of that to come a little bit later on in the show. If you'd like to get in touch, then please do. It's info@bridasia.tv. But leading up to the general elections, of course, if you have forgotten, it's on Thursday, the 7th of May. We're going to have a debate today on the show, and we're joined by Paul Ratner from the Conservative Party representing West Bromwich West, and Khalid Mahmood from the Labour Party representing Birmingham Perry Bar. They're both here with us in the studio. It may well get a little bit interesting. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
I guess by now you've already been out to meet in both of your areas. What is the sense that you're getting? Do you feel that we're going to end up with a coalition party, or do you think Conservative is going to get through or Labour is going to get through? Would you like to go first, Paul?
And the truth is, we just at the moment we just don't know. You know, my campaign has been focused heavily on meeting people on the doorstep, finding out what issues concern them, and then explain to them in a positive way what sort of policies we're going to offer in the next 5 years.
And what's been some of the key issues then that you've really picked up from going door to door?
The main one that's mentioned in my area is immigration. It comes up time and time again. But people talk about healthcare, they talk about education, they want to make sure their kids are going to a school that's safe and which provides, helps them get the best grades, they can go on and get an apprenticeship or a great career in the future. And, I've been talking to them about the sort of positive things we want to offer. In terms of something like education, I'm very proud that we've extended the Academy programme. It was actually started by New Labour, it's been continued by us. There are now 1 million more kids who are going to schools that are either rated as good or outstanding. And we're trying to sort of sell ourselves on that sort of a record, because I think we do have a lot of positive things to talk about.
Now, yet you've been in power for, even though it's a coalition, and for 5 years, and you still can't gauge or get the confidence of Great Britain to say, I want to go with Conservative. Why are they so unsure at the moment? What have you not done in the 5 years that people aren't sure which way they're going to go?
I think it's been a difficult time, and certainly a couple of years ago there was the expenses scandal. I think that affected politicians across the board. People have lost a bit of trust in politics. We need to earn that back.
And what about some of the promises that were made in the last election? Maybe that's, some of them just haven't been filled at the moment. They just haven't been done. And so you're making promises this time round, and these promises, maybe they're a bit nervous that they're not going to be fulfilled either.
I understand that. I think we managed to get a lot of our manifesto through.
Right.
I think we've got a very good record on the economy. We've been part of a...
But you were part of a coalition, so the coalition are saying, well, the reason why this is happening because we were there to hold their hands.
Well, I'm not sure that's entirely true.
Okay.
I think a lot of the economic policies are things that we push through. We've made sure that less people are paying income tax now. We've raised the threshold. I'd like to do that again. And we've created the environment where businesses can thrive. And
so you've raised it up to about 10,500, is that right?
Yes, I think it's going up again.
Oh, it's going up a bit more. How much is it going to go up to?
I think it's 12,500.
12,500. Yeah. What do you say to his claims that they've done a lot of changes, a lot of positivity? What the Labour, if you can't offer what they're offering, then what is going to be the change?
Well, I think we're offering a much better change.
In what way?
In terms of 0-hour contracts for starters. I've got a lot of people who work in my constituency, but still can't make ends meet. We've never had food banks in my constituency. We've got food banks.
Can we just go to the 0-hour contracts?
Yeah.
There's a lot of students who rely on these 0-hour contracts so that they can go through an education. Is there going to be a ban across the board for 0-hour contracts? Or
yes, it's not. See, the misinformation here is that students need to be on 0-hour contracts. That's wrong.
Okay.
They can be on flexi-hour contracts,
okay,
which will fulfill that, but actually give them more rights on a proper basis to be able to work and do the work that they need to work.
Right.
And that's what the real problem is. More people are in employment, but they're not at a level of salary that they should be at in order to support the families. In most instances now, both couples are working, but still not being able to make ends meet. The wage rises have been some of the lowest for almost 100 years in respect to that. So where the claims are the economy has done well, I don't think it's done that. Over the last quarter, it has dipped again, and it's a fragile economy. And what we need to do is to ensure that we can support that, and that's what the Labour plans are.
Are you worried that if you start banning 0-hour contracts or making much tighter restrictions on them, then maybe some people become unemployed, that companies just won't take these people on at all?
No, I don't think so. I think in order for the companies to move forward, they need to have those sort of contracts. They know what's right, but we're not going to win in a race to the bottom. This is about a race to the bottom. This is about treading on working people's shoulders to move forward. It's not economies can't be built on that. Economy has to be built on working with the average working person to do that. And that's the only way you're going to move. The industry is going to move forward.
I mean, what I worry about is, firstly, in terms of zero-hours contracts, it's 2.3% of all the jobs out there, so it's not a huge amount. And a third of them, as you say, are students who might need that sort of flexibility. Maybe they can't work.
But there's no rights that go along with those zero-hour contracts.
Right.
That's where the problem is. Some of these people are going to work and they might be just there for an hour or two. It takes them longer to get into work, so that when they do their shift.
But the concern we have is that in 2010, it was predicted that if we had banned zero-hours contracts, a lot, thousands of people would have been made, tens of thousands of people would have been made unemployed.
So
this is a complete fallacy. When we brought in the minimum wage, the Conservatives said, look, we're going to lose millions of jobs by doing that. We brought the minimum wage in, it worked, and it's working. Now we want to increase that to a living wage.
But there's no guarantee that those two things are connected.
Every time you do that, making it better for the working people, the Conservatives always say, it's not going to happen. It's going to end up in the whole thing exploding and not enough work.
I actually run my own.
Final point, and then we will move this forward.
Sure. I mean, I actually run a small company, consultancy, and I work with a lot of big businesses and a lot of small businesses, pension funds, retailers, and the like. And a lot of them say the economy is recovering. They're glad that corporation tax has been lowered. They're glad with some of the policies being made. But it is a fragile recovery, and they're not necessarily 100% confident about the future. And they're very worried that if Ed Miliband
after 5 years of being there and saying that we're going to resolve this issue of the debt in 5 years, the coalition hasn't done that. And in fact, at the end of the day, we're still in a very fragile recovery. What does that show us over the last 5
we inherited
years of people who are saying that they were going to be people who are going to make the economic difference, and you haven't done that, and that's the problem.
No,
that's why we are where we are with the.
We inherited a debt of £1,000 billion, plus one of the largest deficits we've ever had in this country. So there was no way we could clear off the entire debt.
But that was what was said by
what we have done
before the last election.
No, what we have done is we've reduced,
and that's why people are not listening.
What we've done is we've reduced the deficit by 50%, and we've created more jobs in this country than the rest.
Not 50%.
And we've created more jobs in this country than every other country in Europe combined.
Right.
We have more investment coming. We have more investment coming to this country from China than France, Germany, and Italy combined. We've created 1,000 jobs for every single day we've been in office.
I've got to challenge you on this. The Tory party now want a referendum to actually move out of Europe. The foreign investment is coming in here because we're part of the European Union, because they have access to Europe to do that. And the Tory party wants to take us out of that. So that doesn't match either.
It's not about whether we want to go out or not. It's the idea, what we are saying is that people should have the democratic right to decide they should have the right to decide whether we're in the European Union or not.
On what basis? On what basis? All you're doing is sucking up to the UKIP, who actually want to have raised this agenda. You're trying to catch up with UKIP. The real agenda here is what we do about supporting businesses have greater access. That was the whole point of the European Union, to do that. There are issues that we need to look at, but that's not in terms of business. That's in terms of some of the bureaucracy.
What I hear on
the
doorstep is a lot of people say the European Union in '75 were meant to be a common market. They feel it's become too political now, and they want to have their say. My generation has never voted on the European Union. I think it's absolutely right we have a referendum. And what I'm hoping is that if we have a referendum, we'll have 2 years to renegotiate with Europe and say, you have to offer us something which
this will stagnate all of our economy for a long time if you do that. Running up to that referendum, you'll have a year and a half, 2 years, and then 2 years afterwards. 4 years of insecurity for the whole nation is going to be absolutely devastating for businesses.
Well, 2017 is 2 years away, not 4 years away.
Okay, 2 years before and 2 years
We've only got
after.
4 minutes left, guys, so I'd like to kind of continue the point there, because as typical with these debates, you're going to keep on going about particular points. But you actually haven't told us what you've seen when you've gone out to constituency and you've been talking and you've been on, you've been meeting one-on-one. We've heard from Paul, very different areas. We'd like to hear your perspective on what people are saying that they want, that they're not getting from the Conservative and from the Liberal coalition, that the Labour Party can offer.
Well, one of the key things that they're actually talking to me about the energies, the huge cost of energy, home energy that's gone up. And actually, a lot of them are now saying that Labour Party's actually stood up, Ed Miliband has stood up to big energy interests and trying to sort that out. They are concerned about the wages that they're getting. There are low wages they're getting. People are working, want to work to do that. And there are people who are in real serious position on zero-hour contracts that I've met. They sit next to a phone, waiting for that phone to ring, in some cases for 2 or 3 days. And that puts a huge psychological pressure on those people. And that's what the problem with zero-hour contracts is that if they don't like the productivity that you produce, they'll say, okay, we'll call you in a couple of days' time. You're trying to make ends meet in those couple of days. That happen, and that puts a huge stress on people to do that.
Go ahead.
And that's what the problem is.
The first thing is Ed Miliband announced one of his flagship policies that he was going to have a freeze on energy prices. And then when worldwide commodity prices came down, a lot of energy companies said, well, we don't want to lower your prices now because we're worried that if Labour get in, they're going to freeze
Oh,
energy
it's
prices.
complete nonsense.
So they actually
Paul. This is complete nonsense.
They managed to keep energy prices higher than
what
they
the
should have
energy
been.
companies are still doing is that they're getting lower at their wholesale end and still charging us more. They've taken down a few percentage points on the cost of energy, but they're still making huge amounts of profit at the wholesale end. And unless the Tories didn't want to address it, now they're talking about addressing it because it was Ed who prepared to put his head on the block and say, this is what I want to do, because that's in the best interest of the people in the country.
They froze prices at high level. And the way you get at lower prices in the energy market is to have more competition.
There was 18
companies in charge of this industry when Labour in power. There's now 6. That is why there's no choice.
More of a monopoly. And that's what happens when you have a cartels and more small group of people. They set their cartels, they set their prices, and less choice.
But
for
is
the
there
people.
rules against that? And why no one being answered towards that? If you're saying right now on TV that this is a monopoly and there's cartels involved right now, there's laws against that. Why isn't that being prosecuted? If you know that, why is that not happening?
Well, what the issue is that we need to address those issues. What Ed has said is he wants a proper inquiry into them, speak to them, and say this is what we're going to do. This is how you're going to.
How are you a real choice for the people who are listening to us right now here on BigBite TV and watching us right now? Is that how is the Labour Party a real choice, a real vote when most of the country are a bit baffled about? I can't. If you switch off and just listen. Everyone's talking the same language. You're not that different from the Labour or Conservatives. You're almost on the same thing. You disagree, but you're disagreeing. But how much of those disagreements, when you come into power, you might think, we have to go this way. And how long will that change take once you take power?
I don't think it's the case. As far as we're concerned, we've said we're sticking to our principle. Ed Miliband has said time and time again that is what he's going to do. That's what we're going to do, and we as a party have decided to do that. We're not going to be the coalition tail that wags the party.
But if there is a coalition option there, then what will you do?
What we said, we're not going to go in a coalition with the
You're
SNP.
not going to go into coalition.
What we said is they want to vote for the Tories and bring them back into government. Let them go back to face Scotland and the people of Scotland to do that. But we're going to have an agenda that serves the National Health Service, that serves the people of this country, and we're going to move forward with that. If anybody wants to oppose that, what
the Labour Party have to accept is that if they're the largest party in government, or even if they're not the largest party in the House of Commons, but they end up forming a minority government, when they want to get their Queen's speech through the House of Commons, when they want to get their budget through the House of Commons, they're going to have to go to the SNP and get their approval.
No, we're not. What the SNP have got to do is either vote for what we're saying or vote for the Conservatives by not voting for us. That's what they'll have to do, and that's what they're going to have to explain to their people. They can't oppose us on the National Health Service, on the economy, and all the work that we're trying to do to support ordinary working people.
Okay,
what SNP voters want in Scotland is the SNP. They don't want the Labour Party.
Okay, well, let's finish it up there, because unfortunately time is against us. What we'd like for both of you to do now, individually, is if you could please look at that camera, tell us where you're representing and why people should vote for you. If we could start off with yourself, Khalid.
I've been a member of Parliament for 14 years for Birmingham Perry-Bar. Hugely privileged to have been able to given that opportunity to do that. I think it's a fantastic place. We worked hard together as a community over a whole range of issues, particularly in terms of employment and the economy in the area. We want to develop more enterprise, but we've had a lot of issues in relation to the disturbances that we've had. We've pulled through that because all of us are stuck together, and what we want to be able to do is have another term of people working together, both in terms of communities, but also as terms of trying to get greater employment, get a support, and we're doing that, and I hope to continue to do that.
And for yourself, Paul, go ahead into this camera.
Sure, my name's Paul Ratner. I'm the Conservative Parliamentary candidate for West Bromwich West, and we're offering some very simple things at this election. Firstly, we want to eliminate the deficit in the next Parliament. We feel that's important because we need to balance the books and make sure that going forward we're not dumping this generation's debt on the next generation. We want to make sure that if you have to go to a GP on the weekends, that we're going to allow 7-day-a-week GP access. And we also want to make sure that in 2017 we're going to have a referendum on the European Union. So if you're concerned about the direction of the European Union and you want a renegotiation, then we are offering you the chance to have that democratic say. And that is something which, if we have a majority government, we can achieve in 2017.
Thank you very much, guys.
That was very interesting. I wish we had half an hour for this and carried on. Have you made your mind up yet? Have you made your mind up? Did that help?
No, I'm going to think about it.
You're going to think about it? You weren't thinking about it before, were you? Hey, so why don't you get in touch with us here on the show if this debate helped and we try to get more before the election. It's going to be a bit hard, but we'll do our best. But now we're going to go to a break and we'll be right back with a bit of cooking.